Welcome back to another episode of Aman's Unfiltered, and welcome back again to part two of this fiery rapid fire round session. If you thought the first round was intense, buckle up because we're turning up the heat in this one. The questions get sharper, the answers get bolder, and the stakes get higher as we continue to explore the topics that intrigue me most. Let's dive straight in and see if these two individuals can keep up with the pace and pressure. I'm going to be diving right back where we left off with the very next question. Here you go. Is AI replacing human creativity? Harprem.
Ooh, okay. Okay. Here's a very, very interesting thing. Okay.
Okay.
There's been AI right now has been trained on everything made by humans before. Okay, let's put it as
Right.
that. It is literally trained by all the materials, all the content we've ever
Mm-hmm.
posted online, all the pictures, artwork, books, encyclopedias, speeches, content that we've ever created, put out there into the universe.
Right.
Now, if we constantly keep using AI to generate new content, the material that AI learns from right now is all based on human interaction and human content. But if it keeps going this way for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, the content that's being fed into AI to train it is going to be AI generated content. And that's a
Right.
very slippery slope because now it's not mimicking human creativity. It is, or trying to mimic human creativity. It is literally creating creativity from its own creativity that it created in the past before. So it's a copy of a copy of a copy. And with all
Ooh,
digital things, whenever you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it starts degrading. So
that
there is
sounds
actually a
scary.
theory out there that eventually AI now is actually going to be smarter than it might be 10 years from now if people continuously only use AI and stop creating. So that's the important part. Humans cannot stop creating because the moment we stop and purely rely on it, it will become dumber because it's going to only learn from itself. It cannot learn from anything that we give it or teach it.
Hmm.
I I really like that concept. I
Yeah.
think the degradation over time is an amazing concept, and I think with AI we've come in the right and wrong direction at the same time. It's a perpendicular road going forward because I think it's easier to train AI to mimic artistry because its digital output can be consumed easier. But for to train it to do mechanical things is tougher in real world. It is tougher, but I think in the long term we need to go back to replace AI in the mundane, not the artistic. Right now we are feeling mundane because we have to come up with powerpoints, we have to come up with editorials, and we
Mm.
use AI to do these work for us because this is the main work that IT people are utilizing it for.
Right.
However, I would want an AI robot to wash my dishes. I would want an AI robot to clean my car, right? But I think we will get there, and the utilization of AI in the mechanical world would end up being the predominantly used part. Right now, it's just easier to make it digital. It will be mechanical in the future. So I still think that there's space and time for AI. I just
Okay.
hope that we won't be, batteries for our robotic overlords in the future.
See that's for me that's the scary part when you start
Yeah.
giving AI mechanical shit.
Mm.
Me giving it arms and legs and the ability to come into my kitchen and to be around my car. No, no thanks.
So
Not
why
not
don't
right
you
now.
Isaac Asimov the hell out of all the robots, right?
No.
Why can't you just put the stopgap some way or the other? There has to be a kill switch.
Yeah, you can throw a bucket of water at it right now. Most
Yes,
of it's not
right.
waterproof.
Yes, right now there's a kill switch, right? But I think in the future there should be a kill switch for AI and just EMP and nuke it,
Look,
right?
as someone who uses AI on a daily basis, like I
Yeah.
mean, like I have a subscription to ChatGPT. I actually pay for it. I use it for my company. I use it for my investor meetings. I use
Right.
it for everything.
Are you using it for this conversation?
Unfortunately, no. I should have
I
actually.
am. I am proof. I am proof. Yes.
But it's a tool. It is a
Right.
very smart and efficient tool, but you need to know when to use it and how to use it. If I use it when I'm on stage to prepare my speech, that's not going to come out as well as me genuinely saying something. And people who are listening to me will be able to get that gist and understand that sounds like a robot speaking as opposed to somebody who
Yeah.
has empathy or somebody who has variations in their voice and the way they're speaking. I mean, yes, it can be mimicked,
Right.
but it's still not going to be generative in terms of like brand new. And the stuff that it says is still going to be very, very, if you actually think about how AI works right now,
Yeah.
it is literally predicting the next word after word based
Yeah.
on all the words that have been used in the past in that context. So that's how it's being done right now. It's actually a mathematical calculation that happens very, very fast. When I'm speaking, I'm not using maths to calculate the words that are coming out of my head. I have emotions. I have,
Experience.
Yeah, you
experience
have a
and
lot
many
of
things.
emotions.
So that's going to be very, very hard to mimic.
Yeah,
And I don't
absolutely.
think it can get there. But, just going back to what I was saying earlier, right? For me with AI, like humans cannot stop creating. I think that's one thing that you should never drop. We have to keep creating and we have to keep innovating. If we stop and rely on AI to do it, it will actually become dumber, not smarter.
Interesting.
I like that concept, and I also, again, I want to reiterate back to where I said is that I think it's just an easy output at the moment
Yeah.
when the answer is digital. But I still think that there's space for mechanical AI. I still believe so. However, there needs to be an ink to the paper. It means that there has to be someone responsible for the
Liability.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
So liability is an issue. So let me tell you a funny story, right? I had a conversation with a friend who's a pilot. And I
Right.
said that, your job is so algorithmic. And so is my job as a physician.
Yeah.
It is very algorithmic. Step A goes to step B, step C, step D. Shouldn't a robot be able to do our job? And he gave me the best answer is that if a plane crashes and there's a pilot in it, most of the time the pilot is to be blamed. And so is a physician, that if something goes wrong with a patient, a physician is to be blamed. And
Right.
it's a cheaper liability for a pilot to take the blame or a physician to take the blame than the entire company like Boeing or a company like Bosch and Lohm to take the entire responsibility as well.
Right.
So I still think that there needs to be human governance
Mm-hmm.
for a certain period of time for a certain job. And I don't think that I still think that we can't outlive AI yet. I still think that at the end, we won't see AI as 90% or 99% of our lives yet.
Yeah. But by the way, how lucky are we as a generation? We
We got to
literally
see
came
everything.
Super.
literally
Yeah.
from like nothing, no digital, internet,
no
screen,
internet,
all
yeah.
the way to AI.
No. Let's go back. We had cord phones.
We had
I
cord
started
phones.
with corded phones,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then went to cordless.
Yeah.
Then from
We saw the entire.
yes,
Everything, the
Everything.
whole digital pivot age, all the way to AI.
Yes.
Some of the
And-
things we grew up with are already in museums.
That's true. The
Yep.
Motorola dog phone is in the museum.
Exactly.
No,
Even the old computer, the very first.
Apple. Hey.
Yeah.
the symbol to call on an iPhone is a picture of a phone that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's very true.
The save button on Microsoft
It's a
Word.
disk.
It's a floppy disk that people don't understand what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Very long answers to this question.
And
Sure.
sorry, audience and
Yes,
and
I-
Rajiv, for
I
making you guys
apologize.
feel old.
Oh well. Okay. The question I'm about to ask next, it's a very heavy loaded question.
Sure.
So I think after this question you guys are going to need a break,
All right.
okay? I'm not going to ask the doctor because this is something quite up his alley and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. So Harprem, I'm going to ask you first from a non-medical perspective. All right?
Okay, shoot.
Okay. Should euthanasia be legalized everywhere?
Yes.
Why?
Look, honestly, people have the right. Look, okay, there are certain criteria right now that are in place for euthanasia in countries that allow it. Like, for example, Switzerland,
Switzerland.
right?
Yeah.
You have to have, you're terminal. You cannot live anymore, or like you're living in pain, or your quality of life is the longer you live, the lower your quality of life becomes. It's their choice.
Right.
Honestly, like, look, if somebody wants to kill themselves, they're gonna do it, whether you allow euthanasia or not. People commit suicide on a daily basis everywhere around the world. That is technically legal euthanasia, right? But I mean, yes, it's illegal to commit suicide, but when they're dead, what are they gonna do? Like, it makes no sense. Why are you making suicides illegal? The whole thing is an oxymoron. So why can't euthanasia be legal? Why can't you give these
Yeah.
people a safe space in a proper manner to do this in a controlled environment where they might not harm someone else, might not be able to hurt anyone else as well? Why isn't it legal? It makes no sense for me. At the end of the day, I get the religious aspect of it, that harming someone or killing
Yeah.
someone's life, but the way Switzerland even does it is that they actually have the person has to do it themselves. So it's literally legal suicide. It's you call it euthanasia is a nice word, but it's technically legal suicide because they're in a chamber. They have to press 3 or 4 buttons or 5 buttons multiple times to confirm that they want to go through with this, to make sure. And they're the ones doing this. No external party pressing the button, because that would be considered murder under laws.
Correct.
So if that's the case, that person has committed to doing this. The person has gone through hell or whatever they're going through in their life. You don't know what their situation is. You don't know what their
Right.
story is. And if they really want to do this, like, who am I to stop them? Why should anyone be able to stop them? You rather them jump off a bridge or drive recklessly on the road and kill other people while they're at it, or take a gun and go on a mass shooting or whatever. Like, this makes no sense. Make it in a controlled environment. Let them do it safely.
Okay. Doctor?
This is really heavy-handed. I say that euthanasia should be legal
Mm-hmm.
in almost every country, or every country, let's say, blanket it out. Same reasoning as what Harprem said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Only add-on I have on this topic would be that there has to be rules and regulations that are carefully implemented. And that means that there has to be psych eval, physical eval, there has to be family member involvement, there has to be personal involvement, meaning that when we leave the world, we only get to think about our own remorse. We don't get to see how others feel. Now, the thing is that sometimes those feelings were never discussed prior to the situation. So assistance or help were never given before because it was never asked. So no matter what, there should be a certain amount of next of kin, a family member or spouse or children or whatever, that is in the discussion room when euthanasia is being discussed. Even though the final say should always be the patient, however, at least let the patient or let the person hear the viewpoints of the people surrounding them, maybe get to final ask for help that was never answered might be answered as well. So I still think that it should be legal, but there's a caveat to it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think with everything that becomes that controversial like this, when it becomes legal, there has to be regulation. There has to be a process and procedure.
Yeah.
You can't just walk into a
Absolutely.
euthanasia clinic and say, I want to,
Yeah.
off
agreed.
myself. Just like you shouldn't be able to walk in and say, I want to buy a gun or things
Yeah,
like that, right?
yeah.
There needs to be a framework
Correct.
around these
There needs to be
things.
protocol.
Correct, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to ending a life. Doesn't matter if it's your own or other people's lives, right?
Correct.
No, fair point.
Okay. Well, we're going to go on a short break and we're going to come back again and continue our rapid fire round
There's
session.
more of this?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You guys are only halfway in.
Is there like a
Okay.
commercial break?
Now we're going to do a break. All right. After a quick break, we're back with more questions and it's just going to keep getting harder.
Okay.
All right. My next question. I wonder who should answer this one first. I'll let the doc answer on this one. All right. What are your thoughts on recycling? Does it really work? Do companies really recycle their products as what is advertised?
So I think nowadays people are wiser than before to know that the consumer end of things to do with the environment has the least impact. I still think that manufacturers have the most impact. Government intervention has the most impact.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we should not do it. I still think that we should do it, but we should do it with the right context, meaning that we need to know first that the best way to recycle is to
Yeah.
consume less, not to recycle more. I don't know how to reiterate that without like painting a picture to the general listeners, but I still think that you should recycle. Yes, I do.
Okay.
But knowing the fact that what you do is so insignificant hurts. Your recycling barely does any effect on the global scale, while a signature on a bill does a lot more. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Interesting, Harprem.
Yeah, I think it's all about money at the end of the day.
Really?
Yeah. The more money you make from something, the more people will do it. Simple as that. Now the money is in green. Everything that looks or feels green, or becomes environmentally friendly, people will go for that option, because it makes them more money. Simple as that. If I don't think China would be pumping out solar panels if it was less lucrative than running power plants made of coal. They're doing it now because they've got the manufacturing price of solar panels down so much so that it is cheaper for them to run and spin up power plants with solar panels than to burn coal, therefore becoming more environmentally friendly because it makes more money. Recycling, same thing. If you could figure out a way to get people to make money from recycling, like the regular everyday people, and some countries do it, right? You go to a train station, you throw bottles and you throw cans in there, you get a free ticket, and then you can go. Easy. Now everyone's going to try doing the recycling bit. Everyone's going to try to do their part. Whether it happens or not is sort of like Rajiv said. Like, so yeah, it's insignificant, it's small on your part, but here's the thing about people as a group, right? Every individual is insignificant, but when you do it as a group, that's where the impact happens. So if everybody were to think, I'm insignificant if I do this, my vote doesn't count, my opinion doesn't count, then we all become sheep. So,
right.
Yeah, I think you have to do your part, do whatever you can. I'm not saying live like a hermit or something like that, but do what you can. Like, it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't harm you. Like, try. Use a recycle bottle instead of going for a plastic bottle every time. Take your cup to Starbucks instead of getting them to give you a plastic one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I completely agree. Meaning that's why I said that continue to do it, but it should be top down, not bottom up.
Yeah, top down makes a big impact for sure.
Yeah.
Like if the government signed a bill, like for example, when Thailand signed in that bill to ban plastic bags in pretty much the whole country. No 7-Elevens gives you plastic bags, or not like the plastic bags that they used to before. These are all recycled ones now, right?
Right.
Or like every department store you go to doesn't.
Absolutely.
Not anymore.
Yes.
That made a massive impact. That made a huge impact. But it would have made a lot more impact. It made a lot more impact because it came from someone up top.
Yeah. Okay. This question is going to intrigue me a lot. I mean, the answer is because it's going to be two different completely opinions, and I can know it from the beginning because what I'm going to ask you now is, are private schools worth the expense? Rajiv, you go first.
I have a funny saying that I like to joke around most of the time, which is that the best contraceptive on the planet are school fees.
Oh, hell yes.
So I think the concept here in Thailand specifically, let's put the country to the conversation.
Okay.
Right, is that
we're getting personal.
It's a separation between international school and Thai school. In Thai school, there are government school and private school. So let's lump that Thai private school with the international school and government school. So I've been in a government school throughout, from beginning all the way till my college, university days. And
that explains a lot.
Thank you. And
I come back to that. What you meant. Okay, go on.
So I think there are pros and cons to both the system.
Right.
But government system is basically a KPI driven system, which is basically, that means that students need to score a certain amount to get certain recognition.
It's a factory model.
Yes. And basically your job is to memorize from page 1 to page 100 letter by letter, and that doesn't translate to real world skills. However, it does make you a good sheep. So I still feel that school in general cannot future proof anyone. And I think learning beyond schools is very, very crucial, especially in this day and age going forward, because like what we talked about earlier, which is AI will replace a lot of the jobs and vocations out there. So I still feel that school matters a lot less now in going forward than what it used to matter. Not just school alone, I would say universities as well going forward will matter a lot less now than before. Knowledge can be found at the tip of your finger. There's more on Wikipedia than any university course if you want to go through. But I still think that that structure has a meaning. I still think that that environment has a meaning. So I'm not going to say that it's all evil, but the way that it's monetized can be detrimental in the long term.
Right. So what you're saying is that is it worth the expense or not?
I would say no, but the alternative is not better in any way or form either.
Harprem?
I send my kids to private high school.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with it right now.
Yeah.
Right. It saves me a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
You know, we can spend that money. Literally, if you take having 2 kids, spending it in international school
Right.
for 12 years, you can literally buy a small condo for your children every year for 12 years at the amount of, some international schools charge, right? And recently I've been hearing some schools take a donation of 3 to 4 million baht per child. Not to mention any names. But you get my point. I mean, for that's crazy. That you're not paying for the school, you're not paying for the education anymore. You're paying for the status symbol. You're paying because it gives you the brand. You're paying because it gives you the right to brag to other people, subconsciously or consciously, that you are sending your kids to that school. You can afford it, and you're part of that community of elite people. Okay, and that there's always going to be a higher price elite school that you can send them to. Do you know, now it's actually cheaper to send your kids to Shrewsbury in London and pay for boarding than to Shrewsbury in Thailand, for example. Not raining on Shrewsbury, but just to give you an idea, country matters, context matters, right?
Right, yeah.
And this is why Rajiv was saying specifically for Thailand, it's getting out of hand. And that's why,
absolutely.
And then when it starts becoming out of hand like that, that's where you start questioning the value of it.
Right.
It's paying for something like this extreme. Actually, the value you get out of it actually different from paying a third of that amount to go to TSIS or go to Wells or go to some other school. What is NIST offering that these international schools don't offer? They're also IB accredited. It makes no sense anymore. You're paying for something else. You're not paying for the education because as part of IB curriculum, the curriculum is the same. The books that they're using are the same.
Right.
Now, okay, you might argue that, the teachers are better here. They have more degrees or they've been
better
more
facilities.
better facilities. But again, I freaking graduated from a, high school, international high school. How often do you really use those facilities? If you're talking about a basketball court, you're talking about a gym. Most Mubans or most condos have their own gym. You're not going to go to your school gym.
Secretly hoping one of your child will be an NBA.
You get what I mean? It's something else. You're not paying for the education anymore. And it's getting past that point. That's the way I feel about it. So
you think people are paying for...
They're paying for the status symbol, for
yeah.
sure. Guaranteed. They're paying for the status symbol. They're paying for the community. They're paying to be part of that elite. Dude, this guy on my left here, Rajiv, right now, he's a doctor. He's earning, almost an insane amount by being a doctor. He likes to joke that his dad's ROI on him is freaking insane because school fees were so cheap when he was in a local Thai school. Yeah. And then he went to a local Thai university. Yeah. And then now he's become a doctor earning that much. Right. Just because you send your kids to NIST, BPS, ISB doesn't mean they're going to be successful in life. If anything, you invested a lot into them that probably would have been better off if you kept that money or spent that money on some sort of asset where the value would still be there.
Okay, so I think we're looking at this at 2 different perspectives. You're looking from the value perspective, as in money paid and what money earned back or value earned back, right? But I'm looking at this from the curriculum standpoint, and I'm looking for the future potential where that education is going to be utilized. I just feel that the information that is being taught today and the information that's going to be utilized when the current children, let's say in their 6-year-old, 10-year-olds now, are going to utilize it as a vocation in the future, is going to be vastly different. And I fear that school as an educational system, as an entity, school as a governing system for the children in the long term cannot catch up with the information that will rapidly keep on changing. So I feel that for it to be worth what Harprem said is that if schools are upgraded, if schools are fast enough to catch up with the current modern days of information and, let's say, intelligence going forward, then it might be worth the money that is being paid.
Look, I mean, look, realistically, don't get me wrong. Like for me, it's not always about the ROI or anything. Like you can't calculate that. It makes no sense to calculate that. You don't know how much your kids are gonna earn or make in the future.
Right.
Yeah. So forget about that part, right? You, as parents, we're trying to raise up good human beings. We're trying to raise, them to be good adults.
Correct.
Sending them to the right school where they're spending a majority of their time shapes their lives and shapes their view of the world very, very crucially. So it's like he said, what do you call it? The information and knowledge is at their fingertips now. If they want to learn about something, they don't need to go to school. They can literally pick it up on YouTube in a few weeks and then understand everything deeper than what a school could potentially even teach you.
Absolutely.
But what are the schools giving that they don't normally get? Right. That's where you try to fill in that gap. And honestly, you don't even know right now whether you send them to this school, you send them to that school, how they're going to turn out, right? There's no guarantee at all. There's so many kids that went to international school and becomes massive fuck-ups, and you have this guy here, goes to a local Thai school and, becomes a doctor saving lives. There's no bar. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee.
Which school did you go to? Harprem?
RIS. Yeah. And I'm yet to hear another person or like another couple in this day and age sending their kids to RIS. I barely hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think that sums up both sides, actually.
It's
I
very
agree with his
interesting.
point to a certain amount. And I think my point and your point are actually similar, just from a different angle.
You know what? I will.
Don't reveal too much.
Not revealing too much, but I will leave this thought out there, though, right? As a parent, I would rather save on the school fees right now, send my children, and again, at different ages as well, right? My kids are still young; they're 6 and 4. For me, I realize that I can spend less on their schools right now in the kindergarten age. Send them to a local, private Thai school where they're learning everything. They're getting the sangkong, they're getting the language and everything like that as well, and spend that money taking them traveling around the world. Spending on experiences that they normally wouldn't get as well, because for me, I find that very valuable. I found that by traveling, by seeing the world, you actually start realizing how small and insignificant you are, how much that you are not just alone, you're part of this bigger thing.
Yeah, because surprisingly, what you're mentioning is actually one of the reasons why we decided to send our kids to the school they're currently in. It's a much cheaper option. One, it's very nearby home. And we were just talking about this as well, that, we haven't really traveled. We haven't really seen the world. I mean, given his career and everything, he barely gets days off. And I'm like, I would love financial freedom to travel.
Yeah,
take the kids. Yeah.
Do it within your means. Don't get pressured by other people to send your kids to a fancy ass international school just because your friends are doing it or other people are doing it.
I get questioned every other day by people in the society, like, how come you decided to choose a school, and why is my daughter still there? Because she's in year 3 and she's still in the school. And I'm like, my daughter's absolutely happy here, and so am I.
That's all that matters. Your kids are happy, you're happy, you're saving a little money, you can take them traveling, you're living comfortably. Who cares what other people say?
Exactly.
And even honestly, I put that on myself as well. Like the ones who can afford to send their kids to NIST, to BPS, to ISB, kudos to you. Congratulations, you've done well. If you're happy, if your kids are happy, well done. I'm not judging you for it. I just would never do it myself.
So this question could have turned into an entire episode on its own.
Oh, for sure.
So, okay. I know we can dive much deeper.
We'll circle back to it later.
Come back to it later. And that's the end of part 2. What a ride it's been. So much has been said. And I swear to God, these two can go on and on and on. It's been thought-provoking, surprising, and full of those aha moments. I hope this session left you as energized and curious as it left me. Remember, these are just the starting points for deeper episodes to come. Until then, stay engaged, keep questioning, and let's keep the conversation alive. We'll come back with another episode next week. This is Amanpreet Kalra on Aman's Unfiltered.